Hi, welcome everybody to the next episode of the Obscurity of Maximum Security. I am Kara Phillip and I am here with Mike Johnson. So in the last episode, we were finishing up the academy.
Right.
What happened next?
Well, the night before graduation, we got a Liberty Night. I think I mentioned last week that you were restricted to campus.
Okay.
For the 5 weeks of training. Well, the night before graduation was a Liberty Night, and a couple of the guys who were married, their wives came down. They rented or reserved space at a park down in Springfield and brought chicken and stuff, and we had a nice little cookout in the late afternoon, early evening. And then we went back to the academy, and conveniently located a half a block down the street from the academy was a bar. It was called Susie Q's. I doubt highly that it's still there. Okay.
We should look into it.
And so some of us went down there, jukebox, couple of beers, and I remember I left about like 10:30. I wanted to get back and pack because after graduation we were getting on the bus and we're going. And I was on the color guard for the graduation. I carried the state of Illinois flag. So it was just your typical graduation type ceremony where, they call your name and you go up and they hand you your certificate. Shake your hand, we've all been through it how many times, right? So that was pretty much it on that. And then we got on the bus and hit all the stops I told you about last week.
Single stop.
And finally, end of the line was good old Joliet. And they said, come back Monday morning, 6:45 a.m. Okay. So Monday morning, go down there, and we go in the front box, and there were 13 of us, I think I mentioned. And so somebody comes down and says, follow me, escorted us from the front box through the guard hall, out onto the main walk, and we hung a right, and they took us to the hospital, where we had our physicals and all that. Only this time, we got in the elevator and went to the third floor. The southwest corner was a classroom back then. Okay. And the kind of weird thing is that 11, 12 years later, that was my office up there.
Oh.
When I was the mental health counselor, the psychologist and myself, we shared that they had put walls up. It wasn't an open classroom anymore. Okay. But it's just kind of funny that, the classroom that orientation was in. So anyway, we get in there, sit down at the desks, and we're waiting to see what's going to happen. And somebody came in. I try not to mention a lot of names, okay, in case somebody's, still alive and maybe they wouldn't want me saying their name or whatever. But somebody with rank came in and called out the name of one of us. I'm just going to say Jones. It wasn't, but he said, so-and-so Jones. And this guy goes, that's me. And he says, do you remember me? Oh. And he goes, no. And he says, I remember you. Will you step out here, please? He gets up, goes out the door, never saw him again.
Oh my God!
So he made it through the whole academy and everything before.
All those drives, all the way down.
Yeah, remember I told you they fingerprinted everybody and everything? Well, it took a little longer to catch up with him, I guess, than they thought. But
oh my God!
Yeah, he walked out and we never saw him again. So, and then there were 12. So, anyway, did some classroom type stuff. They took us on a tour of the whole prison inside. This, all the buildings, this is that. We went across the street to the annex, as we used to call it. Showed us the cell house, and in the hospital in the back, more like a clinic,
Okay.
you know. And then also back there were the rooms where when the counties came in with freshly sentenced guys, they were shook down back there.
Okay.
The biggest day was Cook County, which was every Friday, and sometimes they brought between 200 and 300.
There were, so now we're into, the 80s and
Yeah.
even the 90s. We would drive from Oak Lawn when I was little, and we would follow those buses, not on purpose, but inadvertently, and just see them unloading.
Yeah.
Those were big days.
It was, very big days. Anyway, we like I said, they gave us the grand tour and did a couple of classroom type things. Another high-ranking individual come in and said that if you're ever taken hostage, whatever the inmates tell you to do, you do it. And he said, I'm going to come in and get you. You might not be pumping air, but I'm going to get you out of there. Okay.
How long was response time? Something starts going on. How long?
Well, I can get into that,
Okay, we could
later.
stay tuned.
Yeah, usually pretty quick.
Okay.
And I do have a couple of stories that we could go over with that. But the thing I wanted to get to, this orientation week, which was 5 days, this one day in the classroom, they came in and they said, okay, we're going to put you guys to work, okay? So that day they had something scheduled for the inmates. It was the Chicago Knockers mud wrestling team. Now back in '84, the Chicago Knockers used to perform at a lot of the same clubs and stuff that rock bands did. Like you could pick up an Illinois Entertainer and it'd say Chicago Knockers at wherever, suburban clubs and, So I was like, well, this is going to be interesting. I mean, I didn't expect this. So they said, okay, you're out on the yard. So I was out on the yard with the inmates and Chicago Knockers. And what they did was they set up a pool and mixed up the mud in it on the basketball court.
Oh.
Which is on the north end of the west yard.
Yeah.
And there used to be a fence around the basketball court. So I guess just for extra added security, they put razor wire in front of the fence on the ground. Now, usually razor wire is on top of fences. Okay, so I'm out there, and they bring the inmates out. There's like, I don't know how many there were. I want to say maybe 300, maybe more. It's been
That's
a long
a lot,
time.
just out in the yard.
Probably more. Anyway, out on the yard, and we had bleachers. They had bleachers set up, okay, around, like, here's the basketball court, and the bleachers were here. So, time for the show. This guy in a tuxedo comes out, and he's got a microphone, and he goes, okay.
Here, I'm going to cut you off here.
Okay.
Stay tuned for next week's episode. We're going to talk about the actual show. We're out of time.
Oh.
So, thank you so much for watching this week's installment of The Obscurity of Maximum Security with Kara Phillip and, most importantly, Mike Johnson.